It really is a collective thing when you are in the audience, because that's the way that I was first, introduced to the live music thing, was by, going into the city, and it was just kind of like this just such amazing new magical thing. You feel like you're kind of a part of it, the energy that you're putting out there is a part of what's going on stage. And I feel that while we're playing, like as a performer, it's like you love it when you see people out there having a blast. I mean, it's tangible, like you're seeing people react to what you're doing. It's just this like micro moment of magic that whoever's there is a part of.
So here we are with Max Davies from Kitchen Dwellers. Max, welcome.
Cam, it's good to see you, man.
All right. So here we are. So Max, to start this off, I want to just talk about like music in general. When you think of your favorite songs, the songs that got you to want to, devote your life to music, like can you point to any specific aspects of some of these types of amazing songs that you think give them their magic?
Sure, definitely. I think, like anybody who kind of devotes their life to music, or even just is drawn to music in general, they tie it to moments of their life. When I still go back and listen to a lot of the music that I grew up listening to, not so much nowadays. Now I'm kind of always searching for something new, kind of to give you that feeling of something that you really excited you when you were kind of just exploring that musical world. And growing up, that for me, that was a lot of experimental and kind of avant-garde music. Like I really liked a lot of really long composed songs that just kind of like took you on a journey. I wasn't listening so much to like I mean, the music, I was listening to everything, but the music that I was really going deep in on was, like Echoes, Pink Floyd, stuff like that. Just like really long, weird stuff. So that nice.
If you're listening out there, I'm wearing a Prism Dark Side of the Moon shirt right now, ironically.
Yeah, 50th anniversary. It came out like March 3rd or something. Uh yeah, so stuff like that really I just got really into.
So let's kind of get a little more specific here though. Like I'm putting you on the spot. So like kind of cherry pick some songs to you that are just some of the classic, timeless, some of the greatest pieces of music that you can recall in your subjective taste. Like I want to hear that from the perspective of someone like you who's so deep into music as a professional artist, like where your eye and ear is at with that kind of thing.
Sure. I mean, and it's funny. I wouldn't say that my ear is better than anyone else's or anything like that. It's just I just was moved by it so much. I mean, for instance, like if we were to talk about Echoes, for instance, uh, one of the things that I love about that song and a bunch of Floyd in general is David Gilmour's and Rick Wright's harmonies singing. It's like I didn't realize that, Rick Wright was doing those harmonies until I saw a video of it. But it's like, and the way that it's like tucked under there. So I think the way that their voices melded together and the level that they had Rick Wright's voice with David Gilmour's, it was just like you couldn't tell if that was David Gilmour singing to himself on a harmony. But yeah, and I mean their lyricism is just kind of it's open for interpretation. And yeah, I mean if you listen to the way that David Gilmour talks about his guitar playing, he's like, I'm not trying to play a ton of notes. He's like, I'm really trying to paint a picture. And that's I guess when I was just starting to listen to music, I was just kind of like always envisioning it in my head. Another album, like it's more about like the vibe of the stuff that was recorded. Another album that I frequently go back and listen to, it's one of my all-time favorite albums, All Things Must Pass, George Harrison. Like that whole record has a very kind of consistent vibe throughout the whole thing. And you can tell that those songs were recorded all together. I think that's also why I listen to stuff from a certain era, is because it was all recorded at the same time, it's everybody in a room. And now records are made so differently, that I think part of that magic must be that everybody was in the same room and recording like to tape, and it just, all that stuff has a certain quality to it. I'm trying to think of other specific examples. Yeah, I mean, I guess as far as a live album goes, there's a Zappa album. I think it's like 71 or something. It's got the white cover. But that's one that I listened to a ton, and I mean, that's for like way different reasons. That was just such a fun thing to listen to. It was kind of like a wild ride. You're like, I have no idea what's going to happen on this next song. So it's like there's, I've always been drawn to aspects of recorded music and then also live music, and I think that's also why I've decided to commit so much of my time to this, is because not only do I revere the studio music that bands, like Pink Floyd and King Crimson and Yes and all those bands, Genesis, like, and all they were able to do in the studio, but also kind of like the live setting and bands that toured, it's like that's a reason you see that, and then you're like, oh, that's a reason that I can devote my life to this.
So kind of talking about quality, like with your music, how do you determine quality with the stuff you're creating?
That's a good question and a hard question to answer. We talk about this a lot in our band, that we listen to what we create, and often we can't even listen to it. We're like not turned off by it, but it's like the way that you feel about it when you're creating it, and when you've just finished creating it, and then you go back and listen to it, they often don't match up. So the way that we talk about quality of music is, were we having a good time making it? Do we think that we played well? Do we think we played together? We talk a ton about our kind of group dynamics, and if we were playing together and if we were listening to each other. Our band focuses so heavily on rhythm and tempo, just because we don't have a drummer. It's kind of like everybody acts as a drummer or percussion, and we talk about that a lot, like who's driving the beat, what's the feel like. It's just because I've played in so many different bands, that this band, we can talk about things that, I don't know, I just normally wouldn't talk about in a traditional band with drums, which maybe we should have been, but we didn't.
So like, we're talking about Pink Floyd, and in this scene, going to music festivals, like people have profound experiences with music. And then, kind of talking about quality, it's like, what aspects of music lead to this profound experience? I'm curious from your perspective, like, what do you think it is about certain pieces of music, certain shows, certain jams that can lead to that profound experience?
I think that it really is a collective thing when you are in the audience, because that's the way that I was first, introduced to the live music thing, was by, listening to shows, but then finally, like the first time going to shows. I mean, I grew up outside Chicago, and so like the first shows I was going to was like going into the city, and it was just kind of like this, just such amazing new magical thing. And you really do, you feel like you're kind of a part of it. It's not like you're going in, and I've been to like a symphony, but it's different when you're at a symphony. You're appreciating these people's skill and the amount of time they put into it. But when you're at, you know, a live show that, you know, we probably go and see so many of, you really are kind of, you're like a part of it. The energy that you're putting out there is a part of what's going on stage. And I feel that while we're playing. Like I used to, you know, I am used to always be the person in the crowd, like just sitting there really taking it all in, like studying so hard what was going on stage, that I'm sure that if the person playing looked at me, they were like, wow, this guy's kind of a dud. But that's because I was so enamored of what was going on stage. But now as a performer, it's like you love it when you see people out there having a blast. So I think part of the magic is really that interaction between what's happening on stage and what people are doing in the audience. So that's like a very, I mean, it's tangible, you know, like you're seeing people react to what you're doing. And then, you know, the intangible is how the music is working together, quality of like the sound system, you know, how the room is, like that all plays into it. It's just this like micro moment of magic that whoever's there is a part of, you know. I think that's what draws a lot of people to it, and initially me, you know.
Hi, I'm Katie, producer of Weird Music Podcast. I want to give a big shout out to Voodoo Ranger. Live rangerously.
Well, if you made it this far, thank you for listening. Just want to let y'all know we've got these hand-dyed, ice-dyed Weird Music Podcast hoodies and also tees. If you'd like one, let us know. We'd love to get you one. And a big thank you to the geniuses over at Thrax CBD for sponsoring us with their amazing products. Also want to give a big thank you to J&J Distribution, Ohio's premier Delta 8 and CBD wholesale supplier. Retailers, check out their brands Cloud 8, Compassionate Buds, and Zaza. Got links in the description. And yeah, much love, y'all. Now back to the episode.
So Max, jumping a little bit to the side here, I'd love to hear you just kind of talk about, for you in your life, what you feel like's been the greatest teacher for you.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, the biggest teacher was, well, as far as this goes, I don't know. I mean, I've had so many throughout my life. But I think the biggest teacher was literally just hitting the road, committing to it and hitting the road. I mean, we've toured a lot, and I've lived on people's couches, and we've had to figure out how to do this thing like from nothing. So just committing to it and keeping doing it. I mean, you know, there's a lot of things to be done that are outside of just like the playing the music realm. And I think there's been a ton of failures along the way, and those have all taught me and our band like just a ton. I mean, we've learned so much just from failing, you know.
What would you say are the main things you can say that you've learned from this?
How to, you know, find common ground with other people, because you end up meeting so many amazing people, and you know, you end up talking to so many people from so many different backgrounds, and you inevitably, you know, you can either sit there and not do anything, which you know, I'm probably guilty of being like talking to a brick wall, but you just realize that everybody has something interesting to talk about in their life. Like, you know, you meet so many amazing people. So that's something that I've learned, is that you know, no matter who you're talking to, like there's common ground there's something that you guys have in common that you can talk about. So that's been something that I think that we've all learned, you know.
How do you stay away from falling into creative habits and patterns that are repetitive, whether that's in songwriting, in certain licks you might play? How do you keep things new and fresh?
Well, in the playing, I've just realized this for myself, that by keeping things fresh, always learning and practicing, I will find that if I haven't picked up the guitar in, a day, and I'll go back to it, without really, it'll take me a couple hours to get warmed up, that if I haven't, like, if for some reason I need to like play with, like I'm going to rehearse with somebody tonight, if I go and rehearse with them tonight and I like haven't picked up the guitar in a day or two, I'm not going to be very creative, because I'm going to be like still kind of warming up. So playing consistently and also learning stuff consistently, there's so much out there for you to go learn. I just learned the song on the last tour that was like, it's a song I've listened to forever, and I finally learned it, and it just like learning one thing opens up your mind to so many new things that you have been playing that maybe you didn't even understand why. But yeah, so I would say as far as playing goes, just continuing to learn and seek new information out. And then as far as writing goes, I've learned a lot about the writing process, mostly just to record everything that you do and write everything down, and to be consistent at it, and not care if it sucks, because it's stuff everybody's heard. It's like, yeah, 90% of it is probably gonna suck, and there's gonna be like some good stuff in there, which is like super true. But as far as the actual not falling into traps writing, I don't know. It's just more about training yourself to being open, and if you feel something, just to go with it.
How do you train yourself like to be open?
By putting yourself out there and putting yourself in uncomfortable situations, and there will be a reaction to that. Somebody will react to that, and it might not always be positive. And then when they react to it and it's not positive, you have a choice to either internalize that, recognize that, or you can say like, I understand what you're thinking or feeling or seeing, but I'm going to choose to like keep going. Yeah, so it's kind of like an action that I think myself and everyone in the band kind of continues to try to do, is just to it's more about like being open. And yeah,
it's a weird balancing act, like taking risks and taking feedback on those risks, and then also sticking to your creative guns, while then taking that feedback also and trying to like assess, like we were talking about earlier, quality for yourself. Like it almost seems like a paradox to try to put your finger on that.
Yeah, and ensuring that you surround yourself with people that, well, one, you respect, but two, if they push back on something, we're talking about like the creative process. If they push back on something, you can be like, work with that, or you can also be like, I really think I'm gonna actually disagree with you, and then you eventually you will find a way. Or if it's something that you have created since inception, it'll be like, well, this is kind of just the way it has to be. Like, I see what you're saying, but because in our band, everybody comes with their own songs. We're all songwriters, and every instance is different. There have been times when like it has been maybe like one of my songs, but Torrin will have an idea, and I'm like, let's just see what happens. Like, just do it. Let's do that in the song now. Let's try it out. Even though I might be like, I don't know how I feel about that. But then over time, it's like, oh, hell yeah, that's awesome. So it's really just about finding people that I think are willing to go the distance, and try anything and not just automatically cast something to the side. So I think it's a lot about, finding other like-minded people out there.
And like you said with Torn, it's like not having an ego with the fact that you made it, and just having a common goal to have it be the best thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we talk about that a lot. Because everybody in our band is like, different, and just like anybody, I mean, it's any relationship that you have, you have different people with different thoughts, and just being willing to accept that and see it for the good.
What would you say are some of the most important personal like characteristics for an artist to have?
I mean, everyone's different. People are artists for so many different reasons. At the root is, they love what they do and creating something. But as far as characteristics go, yeah, definitely just a lot of acceptance for what things are, and you definitely have to be pretty resilient, grinding it out, and also seeing things, trying to see things on the bright side, we're out here to create something and have fun with people, and give people a good time, and put our art out in the world. So yeah, I would say resilience, kind of a positive attitude, look on the bright side.
And what about, let's answer this question also when it comes to just creating art. So not even like the life of an artist and everything that goes into the kind of like longevity of that, and having it be mentally sustainable and all that, but just when it comes to making great art, what do you feel like are some personal characteristics that are really important with that?
You kind of, at least for me personally, I have to get in touch with whatever that moment is, because when it comes down to a song, great songs are crafted from a moment, or one thought, one instance, and in order to harness that, you kind of need to really be able to focus in on that and put all of your energy into that, whether that's sitting in a quiet room or coming up with something like as you're dozing off. I mean, anytime I'm creating something, I usually will play for a while, and I don't know why, but it puts me to sleep. So I'll all of a sudden fall asleep on the couch, and then I'll like wake up kind of in a daze and keep going. And that's usually when something might come. So yeah, I think when it comes to creating the art, it's just really kind of being present with whatever it is. The second I've noticed, with the second that I try to do something, it's like becomes a much harder than just like sitting there and being with whatever some thought is, or memory, or feeling.
That's so profound. Like you can't put your finger on it.
Yeah. And I mean, it's funny because it can go both ways. Like, I've come up with songs where I'm just like, all right, I'm going to like write as much as I possibly can, and then I go through it later and pick it out. But I do find that I like more of that, of when I'm not doing that. Usually if it comes about just so kind of willy-nilly, that stuff is usually, it seems to be, I like it better,
Well, Max, man, this has been awesome, dude. Thank you for joining me here.
Yeah, totally. Thanks for having me.
Of course. If you're out there listening, we got links in the description to, keep up to date on all things Kitchen Dwellers on social media and all that. I got a few more questions for you though, Max, as we're wrapping up here. So talking about the creative process, it's just like weird rabbit hole. Like, how do you come up with an incredible idea? How do you create something that moves people, that lasts? And it's like the process of doing that is so intriguing to me. And with your process, I want to know something that you avoid doing, that you stay away from, that you think allows you to have the success you have with that.
Something that I stay away from. Man, I don't even know if there is anything that I like fully avoid. I kind of see it as more. Yeah, I mean, as far as like avoiding, I don't know. I don't think there is anything that I avoid, to be honest. There's things that I don't know. I'm good with writing. I'm better at writing by myself. So I don't avoid writing with other people, but it's more, I'm better at coming to somebody with an idea of something and then like working on it together. But yeah, as far as avoiding, I don't know.
If I'm teasing out something of what you're saying, it's almost like you avoid being closed off to something.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. I have to be open to everything. And have like dedicated time to do it.
You want to talk to me about some of the things you admire about the other guys in the band?
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to. Well, everybody has their own point of view, and Joe, I love how, well, something with everybody, I think, is everybody is very upfront and honest. And I think that is so crucial. Like, Swain has, I mean, he doesn't like it, but he has no problem after a show being like, we lost the tempo. We need to bring the tempo. We need to keep it straight through the song, or like not drift so much or something like that. So I really appreciate how open he is. And Joe, I think Joe is extremely level-headed. And he can, on a day-to-day basis, he's thinking about so many different things, as far as logistics go. And there have been many times where he's brought something up in the past, and then we're like, no, let's do it. And then we do it. And I was like, oh shit, Joe was right. And Torin has an incredible work ethic. Like he is committed to every single day, making every day, every show that we play when we're on the road, making it a memorable experience for whoever's there. And that I really appreciate. It's like, when we're at week 3 or 4 of tour and everyone's just tired, and we've been in the van for a month straight and like no sleep, he's still like, how can we make tonight badass and memorable for people that are there? How do we finish this thing strong? And I really, really admire that. Everybody brings something to the table, and there's no way this band would be able to work without these members. Yeah.
And lastly, wrapping up here, what would you say is a personality trait you most admire in just generally the people you surround yourself with?
Wow. Everyone so many people that I've come across are so uplifting and so positive and like root for other people, and I see the people that root for our band and all of our friends' bands. We have so many friends' bands around the country, and it's like, I just feel so grateful for our community that we have found. That, like, I mean, everybody is so uplifting and positive for each other. I don't see a lot of like trash talk or anything, and I don't know if that's just the people that we are surrounded by, but like it really is. I feel like everyone is just super positive and supportive of each other.
It's a very conducive environment.
Oh yeah, exactly. It's like, it gets you to you're like, oh shit, I can play better.
Max,
Yeah.
man, my friend, so great to talk to you here.
Yeah, you too, Cam.
Hell yeah. Well, I'll see you here in Columbus. And like I said, everyone out there listening, keep up with Kitchen Dwellers. We got a link to their website and all that good stuff. And yeah, much love, y'all.